In active and passive voice, we're looking at being direct in our speaking and our writing. Active voice suggests that the action is done by the subject of the verb. In passive voice, the action is done to the subject of the verb. In active voice, the subject is the doer of the action of the verb. For example, the coach instructed us. Instructed is the verb, coach is the subject. Instructed who? Instructed us. We have a direct object. We stop and ask ourselves, who did the instructing? The coach. Is the coach the subject of the sentence? Yes, therefore this is active voice. Conversely, in the next sentence, were instructed is the verb, we is the subject, and by the coach is a prep phrase. If I stop and ask myself, who did the instructing? We is not the answer. The coach is the one doing the instructing, and he's not the subject of the sentence. So we call this passive voice. Again, it's not incorrect. It's just not direct, and you want to be direct in your thinking and your speaking and your writing. Same pattern will hold true for the rest of the examples. The next one is an example of a question. Did Brandon score the winning touchdown? Did score is the verb. Brandon is the subject. Did score what? The winning touchdown. Verb is did score. Is Brandon doing the action of scoring? Yes, he is. Is he the subject? Yes, he is. Active voice. Was the winning touchdown scored by Brandon? Was scored is the verb. Touchdown is the subject. By Brandon's a prep phrase. Was the scoring done by the touchdown? No. Therefore, this is passive voice. Finally, the author provides helpful diagrams. Provides is the subject, is the verb, Author is the subject. Provides what? Helpful diagrams. Wait, is the author doing the providing? Yes. Is the author the subject? Yes. Active voice. Helpful diagrams are provided by the author. Are provided is the verb. Diagrams is the subject. We have another prep phrase. I'm going to stop, ask myself, are the diagrams doing the providing? No, they're not. So diagrams is the subject. That means it's passive voice. There are times when passive voice is unavoidable. For example, in the sentence, announcements are read daily, the verb is are read, the subject is announcements. Are read is the verb. Do we know who's doing the reading? No, we don't. This is passive voice, but it's okay. We don't know who's doing the reading, and we don't want to communicate who's doing the reading. So here's an example of a time where passive voice would be unavoidable. Be careful to think through your process here, because the simple fact that there's a prepositional phrase at the end of the sentence will not communicate whether or not you have active or passive voice. You need to identify your verb, identify your subject, stop, ask yourself, is my subject performing the action of the verb? If the answer is yes, it's active. No, it's passive. Next, we'll go through what are called or referred to affectionately as the troublesome verbs. Lie and lay, sit and set, rise and raise. Lie and lay are really the most troublesome of the troublesome verbs. Let's go through lie and lay. Lie means to rest or remain in a lying position. This is not to tell a falsehood. This is to be at rest. This generally does not take an object. What does that mean? It is an intransitive verb, typically. If I look at the example here, I lie down if I have a headache. Lie is the verb, I is the subject. Down is telling me where I lie, therefore it's an adverb. If I have a headache is an adverb clause. There's no direct object for that verb. Lie is typically intransitive. That's a clue to help you figure out which verb you should choose. Lay, on the other hand, means to put or place something down. This typically takes a direct object. Make sure you lay the book on the table. Lay is the verb, you is the subject. Lay what? The book. Therefore, that is a transitive verb. So when you have an intransitive verb like lie, you conjugate it this way. Lie is lying, lay has or have lain. You must memorize these forms or it will be very tricky to tell the two verbs apart. That is because lay conjugates as lay, laying, laid, and has or have laid. Notice lay and lay are the same. Also, lain is not a word that you hear very often, so you need to be attentive to knowing the forms of lie and lay. You need to memorize them, and you need to remember that the one on the top is typically intransitive. That's how you're going to tell the difference. If it's an intransitive verb, you're working on this top row. Sit means to rest in an upright and seated position. Set means to place something down somewhere. So sit is typically intransitive. It seldom takes an object. I sit in the chair to read the paper. That is an intransitive verb. Set, on the other hand, generally takes a direct object. Jane set the coffee mug on the table. Set is the verb, Jane is the subject. Set what? The coffee mug on the table. Here is the way these two verbs conjugate. Notice again, sit, the intransitive verb, is in the top row, and set, the transitive verb, is the bottom row.